3 vaccines that are currently approved for under emergency use authorization by the FDA in the United States right now. They're the Moderna vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine, and the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The differences between the vaccines are small in terms of basically how they work. So both Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines are called mRNA vaccines. It means it takes a very small part of the instruction manual for the virus. And basically, I like to explain it as, let's say the virus is a recipe, like to make a virus, you need a 100-page recipe. This is basically 1 page of that 100-page recipe, just to tell your body that this is what the virus looks like, so you're ready to fight it off if you see it. So if you come into contact with COVID, your immune system can recognize what COVID is and it's prepared. So those are for Pfizer and Moderna. They're mRNA vaccines. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is very similar. It's just the mechanism of delivery of that little 1-page information to your body is through something called an adenovirus, which is basically a benign virus that cannot make you sick. They just deliver that sort of piece of information about how to recognize COVID in a little bit different manner. So instead of an mRNA, it's adenovirus, but they're very, very similar in terms of the information it's providing to your body. And in both cases, they are not an inactivated form of the virus in any way that, there should be no concerns about them reactivating. There's no way to get COVID from these vaccines because, like I said, it's 1 teeny piece of information. You're lacking like the other 99 pages of the recipe book of how to make the virus. So it cannot give you COVID. So all 3 vaccines are 100% effective in preventing the need for hospitalization or the possibility of death, which is just really phenomenal. There is some small difference in the efficacy from preventing you from getting COVID at all. So from you having any symptoms of COVID. So, there's a little bit difference in terms of mild COVID, like would you have cold-like symptoms, a cough or runny nose, sort of mild body aches. There's a little bit higher of a chance from the clinical trial data if you receive the Johnson & Johnson versus the Moderna or Pfizer. But I think that's something to keep in mind is that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine trials were conducted a little bit later on, sort of in this pandemic. And so, a lot of people out there might have heard that there are different variants of COVID and also, the populations in which these clinical trials were tested, were different. And so we can't really 100% compare the efficacy to one another because the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine was conducted at a different time of the pandemic than the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So, I think while there are slight differences in basically the reported efficacy, the main takeaway is that they are 100% effective at preventing you from severe COVID.